everyone. In case this is your first time tuning in with me, my name is Mrs. Rose and I teach third grade. I'm sure many of you already know me, had me in class, or maybe you've just seen me in the hallway. If you're new here, I'm so glad you are joining me and can't wait to meet you when school is back in session. Excuse me. I'm so excited to be back this week with another story to share with you. Our story this week is called Swamp Angel. It's by Anne Isaacs, and it's illustrated by Paul O. Zielinski. I'll read you the story summary so you have an idea of what it will be about. When Angelica Longrider was born, she was scarcely taller than her mother and couldn't climb a tree without help. She was a full 2 years old before she built her first log cabin, but by the time she is fully grown, Swamp Angel, as she is known, can lasso a tornado and drink an entire lake dry. She single-handedly saves the settlers from the fearsome bear known as Thundering Tarnation, wrestling him from the top of the Great Smoky Mountains to the bottom of a deep lake in this original tall tale set on the American frontier. So, I can't wait to hear more about Swamp Angel, and I'm curious to see the illustrations in this book too. So during this video series, we will be talking about tall tales and what elements make up a tall tale. Your goal is to decide if my read aloud is a tall tale or not by using some of the clues that we go over. Before we get started, I want to access some of your prior knowledge. What I mean by that is, what information have you learned from your life experiences or previous lessons? We will use what we already know to help us understand something new. Basically, it means to brainstorm or tap into our memory. Each person's prior knowledge on a subject will be different. Some people might know more about a specific topic than you do, and you might know more about a different topic than other people do. It's okay. It doesn't matter how much you know before you begin. In fact, the more you read, the more prior knowledge you create for the future. What does matter, though, is that you make an effort to activate your prior knowledge every time you sit down to read, whether you're at the beginning, middle, or end of a text. So, you might be wondering, why is this prior knowledge so important? Well, most importantly, prior knowledge prepares our brains to read. If you are the type of student who can read a paragraph, but then can't remember what you just read, when you finish, part of the problem might be that you were not prepared to begin reading. I've done this before when I'm reading my book at home. I start reading and then I totally have to go back and reread, or I didn't know what I was reading about. So I need to go back and activate my prior knowledge. To illustrate this, think of your brain like a muscle. Okay? Just like a muscle needs to be exercised to get stronger, our brains need to practice how to read, think, and remember. And just like an athlete stretches his or her muscles before starting to play a sport, our brains need to warm up before putting it to work. Activating prior knowledge prepares our brains to read. Prior knowledge tells our brains to focus on what we are about to read. When we think about what we already know, it gives us a chance to review previously learned information, ask questions, and make predictions about what we're going to read. In this way, prior knowledge guides our brains as we read. Our reading might clarify information we didn't quite understand before, or provide new details. We'll be more aware of changes if our brain was already focused on these ideas. Here are some examples to ask yourself when trying to activate prior knowledge. These are some questions for fiction texts. What do I already know about this story? What does the title tell me? What do I know about the author? What did the book summary say? And what genre is this text? What happened the last time I read? If you are reading a nonfiction book, here are some questions to ask yourself to activate your prior knowledge. What kind of text is this? What does the title tell me? What topic is this text about? What do I know about this topic? What did I learn when I read the last section? What is my purpose for reading this text? The more you practice, the better you will get at it. So make it a habit. Stop and think about your prior knowledge every time you read. Now that we have a good idea of what prior knowledge is, why it's important, and how to use it, let's activate it. I want you to think about what you already know about tall tales. Have you heard one before? Maybe your teachers have read them, or maybe you've heard one as a bedtime story. It's okay if you aren't sure what a tall tale is because we are going to learn all about it soon. If you do have some prior knowledge about it, drop a comment below telling me about it. You can even turn and tell someone that you are with. During our next video, when I read the story Swamp Angel to you, I want you to be accessing your prior knowledge before I read, while I read, or during the story, and afterwards. You just activated your prior knowledge about tall tales. Let's talk more about what a tall tale is. A tall tale is a fictional story that stretches the truth. It's a type of folk tale, just like a fairy tale, myth, fable, or legend. They all fall under the same genre or category. I thought it would be fun to make a flip book to show the different elements of a tall tale. That way, when we're done reading Swamp Angel, you can refer back to your flip book and your notes to decide if it's a tall tale or not. You can even use it when you're reading other books. The only materials you need are a piece of paper, something to write with, and scissors. Go ahead and pause the video while you gather your material so we can make the flip book together. Okay, I have all of my materials. I have the book, Swamp Angel, which I'm going to set aside for now. Piece of paper, I chose orange, something to write with, and scissors. The first step in making a flip book is folding your piece of paper in half like a hot dog bun. Okay, so make sure your paper is standing tall. And we're going to fold it in half like a hot dog bun. Try to get your creases to line up, your edges to line up, and then make a crease. Okay, so you want to fold it so it's long. The next step is to keep it folded, but then we're going to fold it in half again. So you're going to take the top and fold it down to the bottom edge. So let's line up our edges. So I'm going to grab the top, fold it down to the bottom, and I'm going to crease that. You have a small rectangle now. I want you to go ahead and open up that crease. There should be a line right across the center. Okay. Our next step, we are going to take the top again, but we are only going to fold it to the middle. So I want you to line up this edge with the middle crease. And then fold that down. Once you have it folded nice and tight, go ahead and open that back up. So we have two lines now. We have our top line, our center line, and we're going to make one more. So we'll take our bottom edge, and again, we'll fold it up to that middle line or the middle crease. I'm going to press down so I have a nice tight crease there. Go ahead and open it back up. Then I want you to turn it. And if you open, we have a bunch of squares. Okay, I want your folded line at the top. Okay, so make sure the open part is at the bottom and the folded part is at the top. Okay. So our creases are basically going to be our guides for where we cut, but we're not going to do that just yet. We are going to draw on the cover of our flip book. So I have my open part at the bottom. I'm going to write tall tail. If you want, you can even write elements of a at the top. So I'm going to write the elements of a. The elements of a tall tail. Okay. Once you have your cover written, now it's time to cut. If there are multiple children making this video right now, I want you to flip it over and write your name on the back. Okay, before you start cutting, I want you to open up your flip book. Okay, so just flip it out. So now our title, our cover page should be at the bottom. You are going to take your scissors and carefully cut on each line, but you are going to stop at the middle crease. Okay, so I have my guides, but I'm going to stop. If I cut all the way, I'm just going to have strips of paper and I won't have a flip book. So take a minute now and go ahead and cut all the way up to that middle crease. Okay, once you're finished cutting, you can flip that back side down and fold all your little flaps down. You now have a flip book. So we can flip open each tab and we are going to write a different element of a tall tail under each one. You won't need your scissors anymore, so you can go ahead and put those away. But you do need something to write with. Marker, pencil, pen, does not matter to me. Okay, so one of the first ways you can tell a book or a story is a tall tale is because the main character is usually larger than life. They might have a regular job, but they are larger than life in their abilities. In other words, they are superhuman. So let's go ahead and open up our first flap with the T's. And I'm going to write down the main character is larger than life. I'm also going to make a squiggle and underneath put superhuman. Okay. I'll give you a minute to write that down under your first flap, or you can pause the video. Okay, under our next flap, another element of a tall tale is that it has a lot of exaggerated details. Like so exaggerated that you can't even believe it. So I'm going to close my first one, and the one with the A's I'll open up. And I'm going to write details are exaggerated beyond belief. Details are Exaggerated is a long word, so make sure that you're writing small so you can fit it in there. Okay, again, you can pause the video. All right, I'm going to close my second element, and we will write our third one under the tab that has the L's. Okay, our third element is that the problem in the story is usually solved in a humorous or funny way. Most stories have a problem and solution, but I love tall tales because they solve their problems in a funny way. So I'm going to write problems are often solved in humorous ways. Okay, there's our third element. Close that flap. And our last one, LE, we'll open that up. The last element is that the characters use everyday language and are common people in behavior, meaning that they usually talk like us and even act or do things like us. They're people, they have jobs, but remember, they also have some special abilities. They can be superhuman. Okay, so I'm going to write characters use everyday language and are common people in behavior. This is a longer one, so you can use the top and the bottom if you write big. Okay, so our last one, you can pause this so you can write it down. Characters use everyday language and are common people in behavior. Okay, so you just made your own flip book. It tells all about the elements in Tall Tales. Okay, remember that they are fictional stories, and we know that fiction means fake. But sometimes they might seem real or even have true parts to them. So, in our next video, when I read Swamp Angel, when I'm reading, you can use your flip book to see if it's a tall tale. Okay, you can check to see if our main character is larger than life or superhuman. You can see if you find any details that are exaggerated. Maybe it's super hard to believe that that could be a thing. You can see if our problem is solved in a funny way. And last but not least, you can check to see if the characters use everyday language, if they're people, and that act just like us. Okay, so I'm excited to see you use these, and you can use these with your own stories too. There are plenty of tall tales out there. You might have heard of Paul Bunyan, Annie Christmas, Johnny Appleseed. So if you want to use your flip book with other stories, you can hop onto YouTube or Epic Books and just type in Tall Tale, and you should get a bunch of results. All right, everyone, I will see you in our next video to read Swamp Angel. Bye-bye.